the new god of splendor, the new gods of splendor, the new god of splendor, the new goddess of splendor, the new goddesses of splendor, the new goddess of splendor, the old god of splendor, the old gods of splendor, the old god of splendor, the old goddess of splendor, the old goddesses of splendor, the old goddess of splendor, the greater god of splendor, the greater gods of splendor, the greater god of splendor, the greater goddess of splendor, the greater goddesses of splendor, the greater goddess of splendor, the lesser god of splendor, the lesser gods of splendor, the lesser god of splendor, the lesser goddess of splendor, the lesser goddesses of splendor, the lesser goddess of splendor, the higher god of splendor, the higher gods of splendor, the higher god of splendor, the higher goddess of splendor, the higher goddesses of splendor, the higher goddess of splendor, the lower god of splendor, the lower gods of splendor, the lower god of splendor, the lower goddess of splendor, the lower goddesses of splendor, the lower goddess of splendor, the greater spirit of splendor, the greater spirits of splendor, the greater spirit of splendor, the lesser spirit of splendor, the lesser spirits of splendor, the lesser spirit of splendor, the higher spirit of splendor, the higher spirits of splendor, the higher spirit of splendor, the lower spirit of splendor, the lower spirits of splendor, the lower spirit of splendor, the major god of splendor, the major gods of splendor, the major god of splendor, the major goddess of splendor, the major goddesses of splendor, the major goddess of splendor, the minor god of splendor, the minor gods of splendor, the minor god of splendor, the minor goddess of splendor, the minor goddesses of splendor, the minor goddess of splendor, the superior god of splendor, the superior gods of splendor, the superior god of splendor, the superior goddess of splendor, the superior goddesses of splendor, the superior goddess of splendor, the inferior god of splendor, the inferior gods of splendor, the inferior god of splendor, the inferior goddess of splendor, the inferior goddesses of splendor, the inferior goddess of splendor, the ancestor god of splendor, the ancestor gods of splendor, the ancestor god of splendor, the ancestor goddess of splendor, the ancestor goddesses of splendor, the ancestor goddess of splendor, the ascendant god of splendor, the ascendant gods of splendor, the ascendant god of splendor, the ascendant goddess of splendor, the ascendant goddesses of splendor, the ascendant goddess of splendor, the descendant god of splendor, the descendant gods of splendor, the descendant god of splendor, the descendant goddess of splendor, the descendant goddesses of splendor, the descendant goddess of splendor, the transcendent god of splendor, the transcendent gods of splendor, the transcendent god of splendor, the transcendent goddess of splendor, the transcendent goddesses of splendor, the transcendent goddess of splendor, the past god of splendor, the past gods of splendor, the past god of splendor, the past goddess of splendor, the past goddesses of splendor, the past goddess of splendor, the present god of splendor, the present gods of splendor, the present god of splendor, the present goddess of splendor, the present goddesses of splendor, the present goddess of splendor, the future god of splendor, the future gods of splendor, the future god of splendor, the future goddess of splendor, the future goddesses of splendor, the future goddess of splendor, the authentic god of splendor, the authentic gods of splendor, the authentic god of splendor, the authentic goddess of splendor, the authentic goddesses of splendor, the authentic goddess of splendor, the synthetic god of splendor, the synthetic gods of splendor, the synthetic god of splendor, the synthetic goddess of splendor, the synthetic goddesses of splendor, the synthetic goddess of splendor, the progressive god of splendor, the progressive gods of splendor, the progressive god of splendor, the progressive goddess of splendor, the progressive goddesses of splendor, the progressive goddess of splendor, the regressive god of splendor, the regressive gods of splendor, the regressive god of splendor, the regressive goddess of splendor, the regressive goddesses of splendor, the regressive goddess of splendor, the ordinary god of splendor, the ordinary gods of splendor, the ordinary god of splendor, the ordinary goddess of splendor, the ordinary goddesses of splendor, the ordinary goddess of splendor, the extraordinary god of splendor, the extraordinary gods of splendor, the extraordinary god of splendor, the extraordinary goddess of splendor, the extraordinary goddesses of splendor, the extraordinary goddess of splendor, the static god of splendor, the static gods of splendor, the static god of splendor, the static goddess of splendor, the static goddesses of splendor, the static goddess of splendor, the dynamic god of splendor, the dynamic gods of splendor, the dynamic god of splendor, the dynamic goddess of splendor, the dynamic goddesses of splendor, the dynamic goddess of splendor, the land god of splendor, the land gods of splendor, the land god of splendor, the land goddess of splendor, the land goddesses of splendor, the land goddess of splendor, the sea god of splendor, the sea gods of splendor, the sea god of splendor, the sea goddess of splendor, the sea goddesses of splendor, the sea goddess of splendor, the sky god of splendor, the sky gods of splendor, the sky god of splendor, the sky goddess of splendor, the sky goddesses of splendor, the sky goddess of splendor, the god of splendor, the gods of splendor, the god of splendor, the goddess of splendor, the goddesses of splendor, the goddess of splendor, the half god of splendor, the half gods of splendor, the half god of splendor, the half goddess of splendor, the half goddesses of splendor, the half goddess of splendor, the vessel of splendor, the vessels of splendor, the vessel of splendor, the name of splendor, the names of splendor, the name of splendor, the person of splendor, the persons of splendor, the person of splendor, the persona of splendor, the personas of splendor, the persona of splendor, the personage of splendor, the personages of splendor, the personage of splendor, the personality of splendor, the personalities of splendor, the personality of splendor, the personification of splendor, the personifications of splendor, the personification of splendor, the image of splendor, the images of splendor, the image of splendor, the imagination of splendor, the imaginations of splendor, the imagination of splendor, the belief of splendor, the beliefs of splendor, the belief of splendor, the thought of splendor, the thoughts of splendor, the thought of splendor, the word of splendor, the words of splendor, the word of splendor, the action of splendor, the actions of splendor, the action of splendor, the reaction of splendor, the reactions of splendor, the reaction of splendor, the feeling of splendor, the feelings of splendor, the feeling of splendor, the situation of splendor, the situations of splendor, the situation of splendor, the circumstance of splendor, the circumstances of splendor, the circumstance of splendor, the environment of splendor, the environments of splendor, the environment of splendor, the relationship of splendor, the relationships of splendor, the relationship of splendor, the number of splendor, the numbers of splendor, the number of splendor, the formula of splendor, the formulas of splendor, the formula of splendor, the equation of splendor, the equations of splendor, the equation of splendor, the theory of splendor, the theories of splendor, the theory of splendor, the symbol of splendor, the symbols of splendor, the symbol of splendor, the color of splendor, the colors of splendor, the color of splendor, the thing of splendor, the things of splendor, the thing of splendor, the way of splendor, the ways of splendor, the way of splendor, the place of splendor, the places of splendor, the place of splendor, the time of splendor, the times of splendor, the time of splendor, the event of splendor, the events of splendor, the event of splendor, the result of splendor, the results of splendor, the result of splendor, the crown of splendor, the crowns of splendor, the crown of splendor, the throne of splendor, the thrones of splendor, the throne of splendor, the splendor king, the Splendor Kings, the Splendor Kingdom, the Splendor Kingdoms, the Splendor King subject, the Splendor King subjects, the Splendor King's dominion, the Splendor King's dominions, the Kingdom of Splendor, the Kingdoms of Splendor, the Kingdom of Splendor, the Splendor Queen, the Splendor Queens, the Splendor Queendom, the Splendor Queendoms, the Splendor Queen subject, the Splendor Queen subjects, the Splendor Queen's dominion, the Splendor Queen's dominions, the Queendom of Splendor, the Queendoms of Splendor, the Queendom of Splendor, the Splendor Prince, the Splendor Princes, the Splendor Princedom, the Splendor Princedoms, the Splendor Prince's subject, the Splendor Prince's subjects, the Splendor Prince's dominion, the Splendor Prince's dominions, the Princedom of Splendor, the Princedoms of Splendor, the Princedom of Splendor, the Splendor Princess, the Splendor Princesses, the Splendor Princessdom, the Splendor Princessdoms, the Splendor Princess's subject, the Splendor Princess's subjects, the Splendor Princess's dominion, the Splendor Princess's dominions, the Princessdom of Splendor, the Princessdoms of Splendor, the Princessdom of Splendor, the Lord of Splendor, the Lords of Splendor, the Lord of Splendor, the Lordess of Splendor, the Lordesses of Splendor, the Lordess of Splendor, the Priest of Splendor, the Priests of Splendor, the Priest of Splendor, the Priestess of Splendor, the Priestesses of Splendor, the Priestess of Splendor, the Ritual of Splendor, the Rituals of Splendor, the Ritual of Splendor, the Shrine of Splendor, the Shrines of Splendor, the Shrine of Splendor, the Temple of Splendor, the Temples of Splendor, the Temple of Splendor, the Leader of Splendor, the Leaders of Splendor, the Leader of Splendor, the Follower of Splendor, the Followers of Splendor, the Follower of Splendor, the Natural Substance of Splendor, the Natural Substances of Splendor, the Natural Substance of Splendor, the Supernatural Substance of Splendor, the Supernatural Substances of Splendor, the Supernatural Substance of Splendor, the Temporal Substance of Splendor, the Temporal Substances of Splendor, the Temporal Substance of Splendor, the Spiritual Substance of Splendor, the Spiritual Substances of Splendor, the Spiritual Substance of Splendor, the Natural Form of Splendor, the Natural Forms of Splendor, the Natural Form of Splendor, the Supernatural Form of Splendor, the Supernatural Forms of Splendor, the Supernatural Form of Splendor, the Temporal Form of Splendor, the Temporal Forms of Splendor, the Temporal Form of Splendor, the Spiritual Form of Splendor, the Spiritual Forms of Splendor, the Spiritual Form of Splendor, the Age of Splendor, the Ages of Splendor, the Age of Splendor, the Era of Splendor, the Heiress of Splendor, the Era of Splendor, the Awakener of Splendor, the Awakeners of Splendor, the Awakener of Splendor, the Awakening of Splendor, the Awakenings of Splendor, the Awakening of Splendor, the Realm of Splendor, the Realms of Splendor, the Realm of Splendor, the Dimension of Splendor, the Dimensions of Splendor, the Dimension of Splendor, the Zone of Splendor, the Zones of Splendor, the Zone of Splendor, the Frequency of Splendor, the Frequencies of Splendor, the Frequency of Splendor, the Century of Splendor, the Centuries of Splendor, the Century of Splendor, the Millennium of Splendor, the Millenniums of Splendor, the Millennium of Splendor, the Purpose of Splendor, the Purposes of Splendor, the Purpose of Splendor, the Meaning of Splendor, the Meanings of Splendor, the Meaning of Splendor, the Culture of Splendor, the Cultures of Splendor, the Culture of Splendor, the Demonstrator of Splendor, the Demonstrators of Splendor, the Demonstrator of Splendor, the Demonstration of Splendor, the Demonstrations of Splendor, the Demonstration of Splendor, the Manifester of Splendor, the Manifestors of Splendor, the Manifester of Splendor, the Manifestation of Splendor, the Manifestations of Splendor, the Manifestation of Splendor, the Presence of Splendor, the Presences of Splendor, the Presence of Splendor, the Glow of Splendor, the Glows of Splendor, the Glow of Splendor, the goal of splendor, the goals of splendor, the goal of splendor, the plan of splendor, the plans of splendor, the plan of splendor, the book of splendor, the books of splendor, the book of splendor, the philosopher of splendor, the philosophers of splendor, the philosopher of splendor, the philosophy of splendor, the philosophies of splendor, the philosophy of splendor, the releaser of splendor, the releasers of splendor, the releaser of splendor, the release of splendor, the releases of splendor, the release of splendor, the variable of splendor, the variables of splendor, the variable of splendor, the cause of splendor, the causes of splendor, the cause of splendor, the effect of splendor, the effects of splendor, the effect of splendor, the journey of splendor, the journeys of splendor, the journey of splendor, the emergence of splendor, the emergences of splendor, the emergence of splendor, the source of splendor, the sources of splendor, the source of splendor, the originator of splendor, the originators of splendor, the originator of splendor, the origin of splendor, the origins of splendor, the origin of splendor, the forefather of splendor, the forefathers of splendor, the forefather of splendor, the foremother of splendor, the foremothers of splendor, the foremother of splendor, the ancestor of splendor, the ancestors of splendor, the ancestor of splendor, the descendant of splendor, the descendants of splendor, the descendant of splendor, the lineage of splendor, the lineages of splendor, the lineage of splendor, the heritage of splendor, the heritages of splendor, the heritage of splendor, the heir of splendor, the heirs of splendor, the heir of splendor, the co-heir of splendor, the co-heirs of splendor, the co-heir of splendor, the joint heir of splendor, the joint heirs of splendor, the joint heir of splendor, the dynasty of splendor, the dynasties of splendor, the dynasty of splendor, the force of splendor, the forces of splendor, the force of splendor, the law of splendor, the laws of splendor, the law of splendor, the pact of splendor, the pacts of splendor, the pact of splendor, the game of splendor, the games of splendor, the game of splendor, the mask of splendor, the masks of splendor, the mask of splendor, the armor of splendor, the armors of splendor, the armor of splendor, the sword of splendor, the swords of splendor, the sword of splendor, the shield of splendor, the shields of splendor, the shield of splendor, the force shield of splendor, the force shields of splendor, the force shield of splendor, the armored force shield of splendor, the armored force shields of splendor, the armored force shield of splendor, the champion of splendor, the champions of splendor, the champion of splendor, the guardian of splendor, the guardians of splendor, the guardian of splendor, the defender of splendor, the defenders of splendor, the defender of splendor, the protector of splendor, the protectors of splendor, the protector of splendor, the chant of splendor, the chants of splendor, the chant of splendor, the shape of splendor, the shapes of splendor, the shape of splendor, the cube of splendor, the cubes of splendor, the cube of splendor, the cuboid of splendor, the cuboids of splendor, the cuboid of splendor, the sphere of splendor, the spheres of splendor, the sphere of splendor, the spheroid of splendor, the spheroids of splendor, the spheroid of splendor, the prism of splendor, the prisms of splendor, the prism of splendor, the pyramid of splendor, the pyramids of splendor, the pyramid of splendor, the cylinder of splendor, the cylinders of splendor, the cylinder of splendor, the cone of splendor, the cones of splendor, the cone of splendor, the triangle of splendor, the triangles of splendor, the triangle of splendor, the circle of splendor, the circles of splendor, the circle of splendor, the semicircle of splendor, the semicircles of splendor, the semicircle of splendor, the square of splendor, the squares of splendor, the square of splendor, the rectangle of splendor, the rectangles of splendor, the rectangle of splendor, the parallelogram of splendor, the parallelograms of splendor, the parallelogram of splendor, the rhombus of splendor, the rhombuses of splendor, the rhombus of splendor, the trapezoid of splendor, the trapezoids of splendor, the trapezoid of splendor, the polygon of splendor, the polygons of splendor, the polygon of splendor, the pentagon of splendor, the pentagons of splendor, the pentagon of splendor, the hexagon of splendor, the hexagons of splendor, the hexagon of splendor, the septagon of splendor, the septagons of splendor, the septagon of splendor, the octagon of splendor, the octagons of splendor, the octagon of splendor, the nonagon of splendor, the nonagons of splendor, the nonagon of splendor, the decagon of splendor, the decagons of splendor, the decagon of splendor, the evolution of splendor, the evolutions of splendor, the evolution of splendor, the revolution of splendor, the revolutions of splendor, the revolution of splendor, the elemental art of splendor, the elemental arts of splendor, the elemental art of splendor, the elemental science of splendor, the elemental sciences of splendor, the elemental science of splendor, the elemental principle of splendor, the elemental principles of splendor, the elemental principle of splendor, the elemental technology of splendor, the elemental technologies of splendor, the elemental technology of splendor, the low elemental art of splendor, the low elemental arts of splendor, the low elemental art of splendor, the low elemental science of splendor, the low elemental sciences of splendor, the low elemental science of splendor, the low elemental principle of splendor, the low elemental principles of splendor, the low elemental principle of splendor, the low elemental technology of splendor, the low elemental technologies of splendor, the low elemental technology of splendor, the high elemental art of splendor, the high elemental arts of splendor, the high elemental art of splendor, the high elemental science of splendor, the high elemental sciences of splendor, the high elemental science of splendor, the high elemental principle of splendor, the high elemental principles of splendor, the high elemental principle of splendor, the high elemental technology of splendor, the high elemental technologies of splendor, the high elemental technology of splendor, the agent of splendor, the agents of splendor, the agent of splendor, the agency of splendor, the agencies of splendor, the agency of splendor, the amplifier of splendor, the amplifiers of splendor, the amplifier of splendor, the amplification of splendor, the amplifications of splendor, the amplification of splendor, the enhancer of splendor, the enhancers of splendor, the enhancer of splendor, the enhancement of splendor, the enhancements of splendor, the enhancement of splendor, the magnifier of splendor, the magnifiers of splendor, the magnifier of splendor, the magnification of splendor, the magnifications of splendor, the magnification of splendor, the influencer of splendor, the influencers of splendor, the influencer of splendor, the influence of splendor, the influences of splendor, the influence of splendor, the emanator of splendor, the emanators of splendor, the emanator of splendor, the emanation of splendor, the emanations of splendor, the emanation of splendor, the converger of splendor, the convergers of splendor, the converger of splendor, the convergence of splendor, the convergences of splendor, the convergence of splendor, the aura of splendor, the auras of splendor, the aura of splendor, the impression of splendor, the impressions of splendor, the impression of splendor, the intelligence of splendor, the intelligences of splendor, the intelligence of splendor, the sophistication of splendor, the sophistications of splendor, the sophistication of splendor, the genius of splendor, the geniuses of splendor, the genius of splendor, the polymath of splendor, the polymaths of splendor, the polymath of splendor, the psychic of splendor, the psychics of splendor, the psychic of splendor, the knowledge of splendor, the knowledges of splendor, the knowledge of splendor, the understanding of splendor, the understandings of splendor, the understanding of splendor, the wisdom of splendor, the wisdoms of splendor, the wisdom of splendor, the secret of splendor, the secrets of splendor, the secret of splendor, the mystery of splendor, the mysteries of splendor, the mystery of splendor, the revelation of splendor, the revelations of splendor, the revelation of splendor, the tactic of splendor, the tactics of splendor, the tactic of splendor, the strategy of splendor, the strategies of splendor, the strategy of splendor, the strength of splendor, the strengths of splendor, the strength of splendor, the might of splendor, the mights of splendor, the might of splendor, the power of splendor, the powers of splendor, the power of splendor, the authority of splendor, the authorities of splendor, the authority of splendor, the dominion of splendor, the dominions of splendor, the dominion of splendor, the rhythm of splendor, the rhythms of splendor, the rhythm of splendor, the melody of splendor, the melodies of splendor, the melody of splendor, the music of splendor, the musics of splendor, the music of splendor, the lyric of splendor, the lyrics of splendor, the lyric of splendor, the song of splendor, the songs of splendor, the song of splendor, the dance of splendor, the dances of splendor, the dance of splendor, the spirit of splendor, the spirits of splendor, the spirit of splendor, the soul of splendor, the souls of splendor, the soul of splendor, the body of splendor, the bodies of splendor, the body of splendor, the mark of splendor, the marks of splendor, the mark of splendor, the promise of splendor, the promises of splendor, the promise of splendor, the visionary of splendor, the visionaries of splendor, the visionary of splendor, the vision of splendor, the visions of splendor, the vision of splendor, the picture of splendor, the pictures of splendor, the picture of splendor, the sound of splendor, the sounds of splendor, the sound of splendor, the dung of splendor, the dungs of splendor, the dung of splendor, the language of splendor, the languages of splendor, the language of splendor, the communication of splendor, the communications of splendor, the communication of splendor, the people of splendor, the peoples of splendor, the people of splendor, the society of splendor, the societies of splendor, the society of splendor, the fortress of splendor, the fortresses of splendor, the fortress of splendor, the government of splendor, the governments of splendor, the government of splendor, the city of splendor, the cities of splendor, the city of splendor, the nation of splendor, the nations of splendor, the nation of splendor, the civilization of splendor, the civilizations of splendor, the civilization of splendor, the world of splendor, the worlds of splendor, the world of splendor,